Honorable Otiko Djaba here, who is the Minister for Gender, Children, and Social Protection. Today was a town hall meeting. I want to welcome you once again to ACN African Christian Network.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
It's such a pleasure having you here at this town hall meeting where we have the Ghanaian community coming out to share their views, their questions with you, their concerns as you are in power now as a minister. Now, could you share a little bit of statistics when it comes to women and gender equality and children protection?
Thank you. Life is not always about statistics. In as much as in Ghana, women are 52%. That is undemocratic. When you talk about the rule of law, it is the majority who carries the vote. So if women are more, you'd expect that we would have more women in parliament and in various positions. But 60 years on, out of 275 members of parliament, only 37 are women. And that's a problem. So we're trying to work on the affirmative action bill and get it passed into law with our members of parliament. So it's important that our society understands that violence against women is a crime against humankind. Violence against women, whether it's at home or in the workplace, is not productive for the country. Children not being in school when they are of school-going age, the aged being treated as if they are witches for whatever reason, albinos and persons with disabilities, children with autism, cerebral palsy, persons victims of burns are treated as if they have committed a crime. We have to ensure that our society is educated about all these various issues and how they can support them. People who have been affected by burns are disfigured. You shouldn't shun them. Through no fault of somebody, they might be disabled from birth or from an accident or from wrong medication or with age. As I grow older, I can't see very well. So you don't look at the disability of the person, you look at the ability. How do we get our society to accept that even persons with challenges or disabilities have an ability? That is the work of the Ministry of Gender. Reports of people committing suicide, child marriages, teenage pregnancy, and what have you, are all issues that we need to address and work with the various ministries, because we don't work in isolation. If it's teenage pregnancy, we have to work with the Ministry of Health, work with UNFPA and other NGOs and the district assemblies and traditional rulers. So it's a huge area, the ministry. That's why I'm saying that it's not always about figures. And we are going to work on establishing a database of all the Kayaye and persons with disability, widows, orphans, the different categories of people. We are going to identify and have databases so that when you have the database, it's a starting point of telling you your numbers. Then we begin to dialogue with them because the policies are there.
If the policies are there, do you believe there are enough mandated programs to establish these policies where people are really following it thoroughly, or programs, to really bring this out to light?
The mechanism and the structures are there, but it's the enforcement of the law. From 1992, when the F-Cube came into being, every child of school-going age in Ghana should be in school. When Ghana signed the Children's Act 560, it means every child who is not 18 should not be married. But we have negative cultural taboos that says that it is the honor of the family, so the child must marry, or because of poverty or what have you. So we need to have national dialogues with the various parents, educate people about the opportunity cost of your child getting married as opposed to your child going to school and getting a job and being available to support you in your old age. Any child that you withdraw from school to get married before the age of 18 is an abuse, is a crime, and it is an injury to yourself because you're not going to benefit after the cow dies. Maybe you collected some cows as the bride price, and temporarily you might get some relief, but long term you lose out because the child would have been more productive and you curtail their dreams and their self-confidence and their potential and their contribution to yourself, themselves, and to Mother Ghana. So it is out of maybe ignorance of the benefits of the child who is educated as opposed to the child getting married. And part of it is due to poverty. And so we are going to be talking and dialoguing and organizing a hope helpline, the helpline for hope, for people to have a voice and have rapid response, to be guided as to where to go to. People just want to talk.
That's true. I'm going to interject you very quickly. You know, it's so easy to say that we're going to educate these young girls out there. You know, there's a quote that goes by, if you educate a girl or a woman, you have educated a nation as a whole. Now, what happened to these family members outside of it who may not get that education and may feel like, well, I'm in poverty and I feel like I need to put my young girl out there to get that cow or maybe 10 cows, and that could maybe take my other son to school or something. You know, how can we go about this? Because it's easier said to just say, let's collaborate with the Department of Health or Minister of Health to educate these young girls in these communities. And what happened to the families and the poverty section?
You cannot do anything with people unless you talk. That's the starting point. They have to own their lives, their destiny. They have to own the program. And so it's not good enough to feel that you can dump your ideas on anybody. If you think that child marriage is not healthy, it's not productive, you have to lobby and convince the person to come to your understanding. It's like somebody who is right-handed being left-handed or left-handed being right-handed. It's difficult to change attitudes. And so it's very critical that we have these dialogues with the various actors for them to come to the table with their own ideas of the solutions. Because if you are the problem, you ought to have the solution. I can't give you a design solution. It's like when you buy Bronueu or second-hand clothes, you have to adjust it. It might be too tight or too big. So a new idea is always like that. Change is always difficult unless you talk. And through dialogue, we will get to that point.
Well, this is just the beginning of it. I would hate to let you go, but one last thing before you go. I know you briefly spoke about disability. You know, it's a huge problem in Africa as a whole when the elderly are going through some changes, you know, as they get older, and they may have a few chronic illness or mental illness. But in Africa or some parts of Ghana, they see it as maybe they've been bewitched or voodoo or some type, like, what can we do about this? Like, what is being done? Or, you know, how do we go about this stuff to our people? Because from generation to generation, they've thought this is how it's been, or this is some ancestors, you know, being cursed or something as such.
Yeah. These are negative cultural and traditional practices. But we all grow old. We have to remember that. Everybody who is born today is going to grow old. And you might just be that person who is being accused of being a witch or whatever. How would you like to feel if somebody called you a witch? Maybe it's menopause.
I won't be happy.
Yeah, it's probably menopause or dementia, or it's because you are a widow, you are vulnerable. So when something bad happens in the community, because you are alone and you don't have somebody to defend you, they tend to accuse you of things like that. So we have laws against such abuse, and it's slavery and abuse. And so we are trying to put them on the leap. We've started the Livelihood Empowerment Program, whereby 2 monthly They're given an amount of 34 Ghana cedis, so times 2, that makes it 68. And also educating them in income generating activities, training in basket weavery, tie and dye, bead making, confectionery, and things like that. They are not everybody is that old. Those who are too old, we don't put them on the leap to, well, they benefit from the cash transfer, but not the income generating activities. The disabled, we also have pregnant women and women who have young children under 2 months, and orphans, widows, vulnerable people are captured to be able to give them a purpose, a hope, is to lead them out of poverty. So increasingly we are going to train them in income generating activities so that other people can benefit from the cash transfer. And as they see that they are of benefit, they'll begin to accept them. And when they are not a problem for them, they'll feel comfortable.
And
Yes,
welcome them back
exactly.
into the community.
So it is a process. It's not a one-day event. Other governments started, and now it is our turn. And it's not only the ministry. You, the media, are involved.
Of course,
Traditional rulers, the churches, the market women,
everyone.
children. Everybody is part of the problem. So everybody is part of the solution. And this is Ghana 60 years on. We don't have time to leave anybody out. We must capture everybody. This is an inclusive governance, ensure that social protection covers everybody. Otherwise, we cannot meet our targets in terms of the sustainable development goals. And Ghana is part of the global world. By 2030, we should eradicate poverty, eradicate the kayaye, eradicate the vulnerable issues that we've been talking about. So we have to work aggressively to educate people, to bring everybody to that point where we understand that we are all equal. We deserve equal opportunities. Whether you are an albino, or whether you are a short person, or whether you are a victim of burns, whatever you are a Ghanaian.
And there's a place for you.
There is a place for you, and you must be proud, and we must make you feel good about being Ghanaian. You shouldn't discriminate against anybody. That's what equity is about. That is why our ancestors fought for independence, so that we will not be oppressed by our colonial masters. So I don't see any reason why we should be oppressed by ourselves. We can't oppress ourselves. It must stop now, so that no woman is involved in child marriage, or man for that matter. Teenage pregnancy should be put out. Female genital mutilation should be put aside. Albinos should be accepted. Persons with disabilities, cerebral palsy, they are all human beings. They are God's gift to us, and it could happen to any of us. So treat them like you would want to be treated. And who knows, you might just put a smile in somebody's face. That is what the ministry is about. So I wish all Ghanaians here a belated happy International Women's Day. Respect the woman. Respect the woman.
Yes.
Respect the woman.